Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next Lamley Awards showcase. We are talking Kaido House today. That is the brand we will be discussing in this showcase, and it is your chance to then vote tonight on Instagram at Lamley Group. That is my account. That is where this will happen. Sometimes we do polls like we do for Hot Wheels for Best New Model. This is a different format. We've been doing this the last few years, and the response has been gangbusters. Thousands and thousands and thousands of votes in tournament style. And we're going to start with these tournaments with Kaido House tonight on Instagram. It gives you a chance to vote. We're going to do 16 cars. We'll talk about how they were chosen here in a second. And then it will go tournament styles, so 16 to 8. They'll go 24 hours each round, down to an eventual champion. And this will all culminate with the big 64-car tournament that we'll be doing the final week of the year, where you get to vote. All the brands go against each other. We have 64 nominees. They go picked at random, paired up against each other, and we come up with an eventual winner of Model of the Year. And incidentally, the Model of the Year last year was a Kaido House. It won. It was the R33 debut in purple. Won the entire tournament. Was the last car standing in that tournament. I can't wait for this year. It's going to be mayhem as usual. I'm doing this a little bit differently. I'm not going to show you all 16 nominees because I don't have them. And the reason I don't have them is because some of these cars are hard to acquire. And I appreciate Kaido House and Mini GT. Obviously, Kaido House is under the Mini GT umbrella. Kaido House is Jun Amai's brand. If you're not familiar, most people are. Jun designed for Hot Wheels, created a strong reputation there for years and years, and then left a few years ago and eventually formed this, using the Kaido House brand that he's used a lot, formed this brand with the help of Mini GT. So he designs these cars, not only the castings, but the materials, and then even the graphics, does some collaborations, and then Mini GT produces them and markets them together with Jun at Kaido House. Nonetheless, it's a very interesting brand. A lot of interesting kind of, this is very much Jun's. There's no brand that's so in diecast that is as closely associated with its designer as Kaido House is. And you know, Jun, it's the Jun aesthetic. There's another facet of this brand that we'll talk about, and I guess what we'll do, I'm going to show you some of my favorites this year, and then you're going to see the 16 cars. There were two main cars, I think, that were released this year. We've seen the R34, we've seen the Pro Street 510 wagon, Silverado. We'll get to some of those, R34, R33. But I would say these are the two models that, the new models this year that created the most buzz among the Kaido House fans, including me. And we're going to talk about these in a second. But the first thing, let's just talk about it. The first one that was released is the Honda NSX, I'm sorry. Got to get that right. I'll show you, and this is one that will be in the tournament. This is the very first edition, released several months ago, the evasive version of Kaido House. And in showcasing these, we'll also talk about the brand itself. We've done a showcase on these. I've did a whole Kaido House versus Hot Wheels video. It's definitely worth seeing. Not only are these really cool, and the aesthetic, this wide body kit, all this kind of stuff with the NSX, this might be your cup of tea. It might not be your cup of tea, but one of the things about the Kaido House models, at least for me personally, is while some stylings I don't like, once you have one of these in your hands, the quality of the metal alloy barrels, the way they roll, the details in the graphics, in the interiors, this kind of signature purple thing, this kind of purple chassis that Kaido House does, you start really kind of like, you just kind of get an appreciation for them. They feel like no other diecast, like a 164, just the way they're put together. They usually have, some have opening features, some don't. Well, no, they all do. I think they all show their engine. They all have an opening hood. This NSX, if I can do this up close, has the engine in the back and has these opening parts in the back, obviously, with this being a mid-engine first generation NSX with the evasive kit. It's a very, very cool car. And this lens, not only was there a lot of buzz with the NSX this year and a lot of excitement about it, but this lends to kind of what it's like to collect Kaido House. And this is my question. These are showcases that we'll do later, but collecting Kaido House is one thing with like a retail release like this, but if you want to collect them all, it's actually quite difficult. And I have some Kaido House fans on our Lamley Awards committee that help me decide what models to do in the tournament. And they'll talk about about chasing these cars. For example, let's talk about the evasive NSX. There's been a second retail version that was just recently released in blue, very similar to the red version. It's just that the colors have changed. I don't think there's any other changes to this, you know, other than, I mean, and this is something that Kaido House will do. You'll see the same decos released, just in a different color. And, you know, kind of, I mean, Hot Wheels does this. They recolor cars, obviously, throughout the year, their basic models. And so this happens as well. I mean, I think there's some branding here that June will do, these collaborations with like Evasive. He wants to use it. So you'll see this this released in a different color. There's chase versions as well that are typically raw. So this one is in blue. It's very similar. You've got, you know, the color combinations are really, again, the deep barrels here. They go blue, metallic blue with the white rims, which looks very cool. Yellow interior as well. I think that's a really cool graphic. Now, some people will say, well, we already have the red one, and you're paying about 20 bucks for these, and now you get the same color. This, I don't mind this at all, because that in these two, I think they're two very different takes. Throughout the year, there were two other versions released of the NSX in retail. And so you do see this, and we'll see a recolor of this one as well. This is more of a Kaido branded NSX in orange. I don't have any of the chases here, but I'm actually including all these. While some of these may not be on my favorites list, this one, just the impact of that very first red one, is definitely on the list. Here is this very cool orange one. So it takes on a totally different look. The graphics are very much Kaido House related. You can see it's the branding here is all over the car. You get the deep barrels again, but this time with dark rims. This would be like I mean, if you're like a fully branded, like wrapped car that you would see maybe at some sort of Kaido House show or car show or something like that. I think that's the take here, where the other ones are, you know, evasive branding. There's some homage to some of these, like homage racing, like BRE and things like this, but this one is very much a Kaido branded thing. And again, this might be an acquired taste. The appreciation for these cars is through the roof in terms of quality. But like I said, it's very much associated with June and June's Kaido House brand. And some people might like that and are big fans of what June does. And other people maybe want to see like more, not necessarily you're going to get the same build, but might want to see something done a little differently. Hence, this one. So you get evasive branding, cool collaboration with a very iconic aftermarket brand with evasive. You get a very much a Kaido House brand. You'll see that in a different color. But if you're more into, hey, you're not going to say factory with this, but some sort of like street related or factory related version, you do get this cool one, the Kaido House version, Kaido Works version 1. This one is in plain yellow, and I think we're going to see a white version of this as well. So now all of a sudden it takes on, you can see it has more of like it's not stock in terms of body, but it's stock in terms of color. It's very much a Honda NSX color that I'm familiar with, this kind of bright yellow. You get Honda badging on the windshield. You get dark black barrels, which look really cool here. NSX branding on the side. And other than that, it's super clean. VTEC on the back window, which I like. It's a very, very cool model. Now, for me, I do like a lot of racing models. I like the Kaido House aesthetic in the same way that while I said I may not like certain elements of it, I do have a certain appreciation for them like I do for like funny cars and other enhanced cars, and these Kaido House cars are very much enhanced. But this one is kind of a perfect mix for me, this yellow version, and I'm looking forward to collecting the white in 2025. So there, you've got very different takes on the NSX, but we are not done. And this is what is so interesting and why I don't have all 16 models that we're going to be putting in the best of list, because there's another element to collecting Kaido House. Not only the aesthetic, but how you collect them. If you want them all, you spend a lot of money and you go to a lot of places. So let's talk about this yellow one for a second, because in between all of these releases, there are other models that are released as well, sometimes limited just to Kaido House subscribers on Instagram, sometimes just to the exclusive to the Kaido House store, sometimes exclusive to events, and that is what this is. This is one of the Kaido House exclusive, limited to, I think, the store versions of the NSX. This is an LTD EDN, obviously limited edition, Kaido House branding. It is the Honda NSX, and this one is a limited edition take on the yellow version. I think I've showcased this one. This one is on my favorites list because I just loved the creative color combination. And I've heard from some Kaido House fans that some people absolutely love it. Some people can't stand it. I think that's good. Extreme reactions, I think, in this world and in the Kaido House world are actually a good thing. But you can see it's very similar to the yellow version, except it has this forest green color and this very interesting kind of light metallic green on the barrels with white 5-spoke rims, which I really like, but some people don't. I really love this combination with the limited edition. So, but what's the difference here? Why is it? It's done in very small numbers. I don't know if these were numbered. I don't see a number here. But varies, I mean, maybe 500, maybe 600, something like that. It's that kind of number, sold directly at kaidohouse.com. They usually sell out very quickly. And because they're so limited, you almost get the aftermarket cost right out of the gate. I don't remember what the price of this was, but it was probably somewhere between $100 and $150. It's just a different color from the yellow version, but you know, there's no enhancement that makes it more expensive other than the fact that it's rare. Now, some people, that's an easy purchase. They want them. They might be able to buy a couple. I don't know. They go very, very fast to try and sell them. But this is an element. If you want to get all of the NSXs, you have to pay a lot of money to get that limited edition. But even then, we're not done. Because there was also a limited edition of this one. I don't remember if there was of this one. But there's also the black limited. This is even more limited than the limited edition. And this is the black limited. This is not actually, so this one, this one is a double whammy in terms of rarity, because not only is it a black limited, which is done in very, very small numbers and sold at very, very expensive prices right out of the gate, not aftermarket, just if you're going to buy this online. Black limiteds, again, limited to the Kaido House store, limited to certain subscribers. And then there's some that are sold specifically at events. And this is a black limited that was not only limited in small numbers, but it was sold at the One Night in Malaysia event, the dinner event in Malaysia. So it was exclusive not only in numbers, but it was exclusive in geography. You had to be in Malaysia at this event. I actually went to eBay and bought this one. I wanted this car as part of my NSX, my Kaido House NSX collection, so I ponied up. I ponied up for one on eBay, paid quite a bit for it. And but I actually bought this one because it was slightly cheaper than some of the others because there was a small flaw on the trunk here. But this is the black limited Malaysia exclusive evasive version. So to make it even more confusing, there was a dinner model that was given to attendees at the One Night in Malaysia dinner with Mini GT and Kaido House. But then there was also this special second model that if people wanted to pay, I don't know what the you know, it was a lot of money for this black limited, they could get that as well. So there were two models available just to the people at the One Night in Malaysia and the Malaysia convention, the MDX convention back in May. So I like this version. It's the similar take. Well, it's just a version of the red and the blue, but this time it is done in black with the carbon fiber trim. The evasive trim is done in this really cool gold, and I just dig the black barrels on this version of this car. I just think it is so cool. I paid a lot for it. I think it's worth having. But I don't have the Malaysia dinner model, which I've seen going for $700, $800, $900. This black limited, like I said, because of this small blemish, I paid a little less, but it's still going for, I've seen it listed as high as $1,000 on secondary markets. But so if you are wanting to collect the NSX, and I don't even have them all, just this year, retail, 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 chase versions of all of those if you wanted them. Limited edition, a few $100s, somewhat easy to get. You can get it secondary. You needed to be in Malaysia for this one, or you pony up the extreme amounts of money for that. I'm not making a comment on this because in some ways I actually like this. Not because they're expensive, but there can be elements of this limited edition stuff. And the whole point of limited edition cars is you decide whether you want to fly to Malaysia, or if you're in Malaysia, if you want to pony up the money for them, go to the dinner and everything else. Limited editions are part of what we do, and these kind of chase pieces, beyond chases, are an interesting element that Kaido House is essentially just leaning into and making it a part of collecting. And so I always wonder with collectors, do you sit back and say, I'm going to try and get them all, it's worth investing in all of these, I'll sell other things to get these cars? Or do you pick and choose? I'm picking and choosing, but I still will pony up for some of the heavy ones. That's the NSX. I think you're going to see a few of these in the 16 car tournament because it's worth it. You are going to see some limiteds like the Black Limited represented, even though it's not accessible to everybody. Of course, it still is part of the Kaido House collecting experience, so we feel like it has to be in the tournament, and that was what the committee discussed. Let me talk about the Honda. This is the Honda Civic, another car that made that got a lot of attention this year from not only Kaido House collectors, but everyone. I love this one. It is one of my models of the year. One of my favorites from Kaido House, not only because I like this casting, this Honda Civic, and it definitely has the Kaido House take. You got deep barrels once again. You've got obviously a wide body kit on this Honda Civic. I haven't even opened the engines. Well, I guess I did on the NSX. There's the Honda Civic, but I also love this color. Hot Wheels has done this color. Obviously, it's an iconic color from this era of Hondas, and I love that the Honda Civic debuted in this fantastic teal color. You've got minimal deco on this, very Honda related with the Primo, the VTEC, all that stuff. I really like the way this one was done, and I think it's just again, the wide barrels, the stretch tires. You may be into it, you may not be, but you're required to form an opinion. And June does this with his designs, and I really like it, and I consider myself a big fan of this teal Civic. Same thing applies. We haven't seen as many colors. This was released later in the year, but the same thing is happening with this one that happened with other. And then, in fact, this is always going to happen with with Kaido House models. There's been, I think, a special limited edition released in Japan with the new deco that we haven't seen yet to retail. We'll see it, I think, very beginning of 2025. I think there's been a Black Limited release to subscribers and followers of the Kaido House store. You need to really follow Kaido House Garage on Instagram to really know what is going on. And he also has a Discord, I think, that is worth following. But there was also this one. Another limited edition that not only is limited, but was also exclusive. Let's see if it says here. It just says the EF exclusive, but this was exclusive to the LA Diecast event that was hosted by Kaido House and Mini GT at the Peterson Museum back in October. It was the Sunday after the Hot Wheels convention, and they did a special version of this model. Now, I acquired this one later. I was there, and I just got distracted. I was talking to so many people and having such a good time chatting with everybody. I forgot to get one. So I acquired this one later. I haven't even opened it. I thought I would do it for the video. So let's do that now. There's no chase, so there's no question of, what's going to happen, but I can definitely show this to you. I really like this Civic. Like the Honda NSX, I've been excited to collect it. I'm going to have to pick and choose. I didn't go after the Black Limited. But I really liked this version. I kind of gave myself a little slap on the back of the head for forgetting to get this one. Limited edition. You see all the details here. Let's go ahead and open it up. I might have to recut this again. There we go. Oh. This is different. This is different. I believe this is the Japan model. So, I think this is... I'm going to have to go back and check. Kaido House exclusive. Well, nonetheless, you're getting another limited edition that you can look at. There was a limited edition for Peterson. I don't have it. I think it is going to be in the tournament. And there is also this one that I believe, now I don't have it in front of me, is limited to a show in Tokyo. So you're seeing the new Kaido deco on this one. Hey, we do it. We'll just go with it. White barrels on this one, red. You're going to see a different version in retail. It's going to be the same deco, but in a different color combination. This red and black, obviously iconic kind of red panda version. There's the engine there. This is, hey, let's go on the fly. It's a limited edition. It's part of it. It's the same point. You're going to have to, you needed to be in Japan to get this one. I thought I was getting the other one. I think I got this one. Obviously, it's another difficult one to get. And you might be into it, you might not be, but once again, this is one you'll have to get. Now I have to, I'm just going to have to work through what I'm looking at here and, maybe put it in the comments because I don't have it now. But it's a very, there you go. There's the Honda Civic. Those are the two versions that I obviously have here to show you, but the same thing applies. This is what you do when you collect. All right. I've done a lot of explaining on collecting Kaido House, and I always think it's an interesting one because June and this Kaido House brand has brought some very different elements to the 164 collecting experience, right? The chases are a thing, but expensive limited editions, that sort of thing is kind of unique to what he's doing. He's kind of just going right out of the gate with some of this stuff, and then it's up to us as collectors to decide what we want to do. Some people love the aesthetic of these brands or these models and just want them because they don't care about the limited edition. I want to know if that's you, or it might be just having the rarities and having these unique colors and things and being able to show those off, which is we all do. I know some people say they don't, but it's part of collecting. Maybe they like that as well. I'm going to go through, try a little bit more. There's one other element of the Kaido House experience, and I'm going to show you the other three models that are some of my favorites. There is this as well. This is another one that I've acquired that has been getting a lot of attention among the Kaido House collectors in the last month or so. This is the DGK Kaido House collaboration. DGK is a skating brand. You can find these, I think you could actually find this at skate shops. There were events associated with this. There's one in Malaysia, I think, that this went up for sale very recently. This is not a limited edition. This is not a black limited. It's slightly more expensive than it's not retail either, so it's kind of in the middle. So it's slightly more expensive than retail because it's a more limited collaboration. But this was definitely in, there was a whole line promoting, there was a whole attire line, apparel line, and like skateboards and things like that. So it's part of this. So it's a limited capsule, if you will. And this model is going to be in the tournament because the skater fans and the Kaido fans have really been digging this one. So I'm still figuring out that Civic. I don't know if I'm going to be able to figure it out until afterwards, and maybe I'll come on later and explain what it is once I do. This is the DGK. It's the R34 Skyline. But so again, when you're collecting, this is very much, I think, the vision for June with Kaido House is not only will it be die-cast, but there's real cars, and then there's other things like apparel and stuff. There's been a Nismo capsule. Here's the DGK capsule. And this model has been sought after by many, many collectors. DGK R34 wide-body kit that has been very popular among the fans. DGK in purple. You got an Advan kind of shout out with the stylings here with the black and the purple. Gold trim, or I'm sorry, gold rims, actually gold trim as well. It's a very, very cool model. Now, I'm not a skater. People are like, shocking. But I really like this model. I was happy to get it. I think as part of what I like to do, showcasing these brands, I think something like this, a collaboration like this, is definitely worth showing. And it's also one, because of the attention it's got, is one that is definitely worth putting in the tournament for the best Kaido House. I think this one will get a lot of votes. Let's put that right there. 3 other models I want to include. You're going to see some different ones. These are just my choices for my favorites that I wanted to mention. R33 is back this year. I'll go through these quickly. This is the DAI version. This is actually, you've got a photograph here of the actual car. Kind of has a 400R kind of vibe to it, but obviously it's different in that it's that deco of the real car, but done in the Kaido House aesthetic. And I just absolutely adore this version. It is my favorite of the R33s so far. We've seen a nice clean Greddy, which I like. There's the engine right here. Just amazing details on these. But wide body kit, once again, June's signature wide body kits on these, which is very different. You know, the R33, there's no R33 that looks like this. I don't know if you'd ever see one actually done this way. Kind of hope not. I kind of like it as diecast. I don't know if I'd like it in real life. But I really do like this take on the DAI R33 Skyline. So that is one of my favorites of the year. Let me put this away. There's a couple others. You have to go back to the old school Skyline or old school Kaido House models as well, like the Pro Street. This is actually the street version. The Pro Street has the big racing spoiler in the back. The street version is just a little cleaner, and sometimes I really like lots of original deco, sometimes I don't. But oh boy, just dropped it, and I hope it's okay. This is the Street Nismo version 2. I think the first one was almost like a Homer Simpson pink. This is these are all retail, by the way. But I loved this version in white. You guys know I'm a sucker for white. This is a cream colored white. It's got the very wide rims in the back. Not as wide as the Pro Street, but a really cool combination of Watanabe rims, wide barrels, wide tires, like, and a nice clean. I will. Sometimes I really like clean models, like I said. With Kaido House, when they do the clean models, I'm kind of all over them, like the NSX, because I just think they're, you know, you get a chance to really appreciate the design in these. And this one I really, really dig. So that one is on my favorites. I think that will be in the tournament. And finally, the Silverado. There's the Dually that was released this year. There's been a couple versions of that I like. I really like the Silverado that was released last year among Kaido House. You know, June did the Silverado for Hot Wheels, the 83. But same thing, some cool deco on these as they've been released throughout the last couple of years. But this one, the Flow Yellow version 1, and there's actually a second version coming out in 2025 in a very Chevrolet inspired brown and white. But this one is done in that standard, you know, not the color, of course, but the standard Chevy square body deco that, you know, this just the big white stripe down the side, which I absolutely love. I really like the highlighter yellow on this, and I love the deep barrels, and I love that this is a take of the dog dish wheels done on the classic square body trucks. This is a favorite of mine that I just, it's in the running for model of the year for me, because I just love the black rims, the black barrels, the dog dish wheels, the stock color, stock design, not stock color by any means. I just think this thing is rad. It is. I really like the Silverado. I think it's been my favorite Kaido casting so far that he's released since Kaido House was unveiled a few years ago. But and that's my favorite of the Silverado. That being said, my model of the year is the Civic, just because of this color. I love the color. I do like the Civic. I like the design of it. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Civic as my Kaido House model of the year. You can vote on the one you want to tonight on Instagram. This is a long video, but I think it deserves some discussion. You want to offer your thoughts down below, please do. In the meantime, you guys tell me what is your model of the year, and please vote in the Instagram tournament at Lamley Group if you're watching this when I first release it. If not, just talk about Kaido House as a brand. I'm intrigued by collectors' response to this brand. I almost feel like it's an experiment in the 164 world. All that said about approach with this brand, these models are fabulous. I'm a big, big fan of the actual models, limited edition or not. I really think these are awesome. Look at that family. That's pretty sweet. Thanks, everybody. Bye.